Sure, it's no surprise to anyone that I've been getting a lot of questions lately about the recall efforts in Colorado and the actual successful recall in Colorado. Now, this is something that, I've paid a little bit of attention to because I think it's kind of important. Now, there's a lot of people that are complaining and saying that this is a misuse of our political system. This is a misuse of democracy. Because a lot of people think that this isn't the way things should be run. And they think it's mob rule. And, I kind of agree with them. There is a legitimate argument there that this could have been a little bit of mob rule. But let's face it, that's how we elect our leaders. We elect them through popular vote. That's mob rule, basically. So when they aren't performing, you kind of remove them the same way. Now they'll say, well, yeah, but they hold these elections at special times when certain people don't show up. Well, everybody involved had a chance to show up. If a sufficient number of people, that's why they set a certain number of people that have to be mad before something actually happens. Enough people were mad to get the election, and then during the election, or the recall election, enough people showed up that wanted them recalled. So it worked. That's the way that kind of thing works. That is mob rule. That's just the way it's set up. Now, a lot of people that were in opposition to this recall have been a little more creative in their criticism of the actual recall. They don't use the whole just it's mob mentality thing. They go a little further. They say, well, this is creating an environment of fear for politicians. Rachel Maddow was saying, well, this is threats against politicians. And if you don't do things a certain way, you're going to be subject to this mob rule, that you have to govern in fear. Well, I, to a certain extent, think that politicians should govern in fear. I would like to think that any politician I elect sits down and thinks before he casts any vote, what are my constituents going to do if I do this? Are they going to agree with me? Are they going to be mad with me? Are they going to elect me again? Or am I going to lose my job because I'm failing to represent them? I want politicians to do that. If politicians don't fear the people, then what reason do they have to represent us? And let's face it, this was a case of the politicians not representing the people. The people of Colorado did not want this. They were opposed to this strongly. Polls showed the vast majority of people did not want this. In fact, this wasn't even a Colorado issue. This was a bunch of local officials, a bunch of local politicians getting wrapped up in a national issue and allowing themselves to roll along with the party instead of dealing with their own local politics. They got blinded by national politics to the point where they forgot that they represented their local constituents, and they did not represent those local people. They allowed themselves to get swept up in national politics and allow their own personal prejudices to judge how they governed. They allowed themselves to get involved in elitist politics where they say, I don't care what the people want. I know better because I'm in charge. That's what they did. And they allowed themselves, it was almost like peer pressure. That, well, California's doing it, so I think we should probably do it too, or we're not going to look cool. And they forgot to notice that no one in their state cares if they look cool. So in the end, I don't think this was an abuse of the democratic process. There is an argument to be made that maybe it was a little heavy-handed, but I think it's the way it's supposed to work. And I think this action has actually sent a message to politicians. That message is do your job. Represent your local people, the people that elect you. When I vote for someone that I think thinks the most like me, and that will react like the way I would react when I see certain things, and that will react in a way that makes sense. These politicians pass something that doesn't make sense. It's not a decision I would have made, so these people wouldn't be representing me, because what they passed doesn't make sense. If you're being bullied, that's one thing. It's one thing to say, okay, I did what's best for the people, and then I was persecuted for it. Because that's not what happened here. They went with their own personal prejudices and they got called on it. Now, if they could stand up there and say, yes, I did something you didn't like, but here's the valid reasons why I did it, then they'd probably be able to sway enough people that they wouldn't get recalled. But in this case, they couldn't stand up there and say, these are the valid reasons why I did it, because there were no valid reasons, so they got recalled. So like I said, I vote for people that I think will think like me and will represent me. These people failed to do that. They did not think like the people that elected them. They disregarded what the people that elected them think, and they did whatever they wanted to do, and they got recalled for it. So good. So even if it is an abuse of the system, even if it is a little bit heavy-handed, it's something that needed to happen. Because this sends a message to politicians. It sends the message of, this isn't a position for life. This isn't something you're entitled to now. You're not now an elitist who is entitled to certain things. You are performing a job. And if you don't want to do the job, then step down, or we'll take you down, and we'll find somebody else that'll do it. You ain't even my real dad. Now, some other opponents of this action have been a little more creative in their opposition and in their, not opposition, their, what's the word? Criticism. Because, when they were saying that, what's her name was saying that? The lesbian, what's her name? Rachel Maddow. She was saying that the other day. I'm getting a lot of questions lately about what's happening in Colorado. Nope. Fucking air conditioner.